All right, we'll be on the record D583008, Gray versus Williamson. State your appearances.
Good morning, Kenneth Robbins, bar number 13572, on behalf of Charles Gray, who's present.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kurt Price, bar number 10237, present with defendant, Chaplain Lavinia Williams.
All right, you may have a seat. Okay, the parties have entered into a partial parenting agreement. It's now been signed by both sides.
Yeah,
You may. Court will adopt the partial parenting agreement. You've agreed as to holidays and other events. However, there's been no agreement regarding the primary or joint physical custody and visitation, right?
Correct.
So we'll need to set an evidentiary hearing on that and enter temporary orders. Wish to be heard on that, counsel? What's been the historic visitation arrangement between the parties? They separated in May of 2017, so for the last 2 years, what have they been doing?
Dad was doing weekends at that time. Since January 29th, however, Mom has been withholding the child, and Dad has had no visitation other than seeing him just this past week for about 2 minutes.
All right, so historically, Mom had primary physical custody and Dad had visitation on weekends.
Yeah.
All right. All right, and your proposal now is?
Yeah, Dad would like every weekend Dad would like Sundays until Wednesday Sunday at 10 a.m. to Wednesday at noon. His schedule is such that he can change whatever he chooses. He's a cab driver, and he's got a very flexible schedule, so he doesn't need to just be restricted to weekends or anything like that. Mom has made many allegations of domestic violence, of Dad having PTSD, but there's never been any arrest, there's never been a TPO granted, he doesn't have any diagnosis of PTSD. In fact, he was cleared by the VA and they didn't make any mention of any PTSD. So, Mom withholding the child is completely out of line. She is currently living with a boyfriend that she says, well, Dad's been jealous of this boyfriend and he's been harassing me and he's been stalking me because he's jealous about this boyfriend. It's not the case. What is happening is Dad found out that Mom was living with this man and that she had been lying to him about it. When Dad found out, he did a little bit of research on this guy and found out that he's been convicted of domestic violence. So Dad, understandably, was worried about his own child's safety and tried to bring that up to Mom. Mom's response to that was withhold the child from Dad. Try to get him arrested, try to accuse him of domestic violence. But once again, all her attempts have been unsuccessful. So there's no reason why that Mom should be withholding the child, why she should be asking for any kind of supervised visitations or limited visitation. Dad's perfectly capable. He's living in a house where he has room for the child. He's able to provide. He's willing to communicate in a respectful manner with Mom. We'd even request that communication go through either Talking Parents or our Family Wizard so that there are no issues as to any type of communication, accusations. So that's kind of where Dad is, his position on it.
All right. So the issue that I have, though, is that quite often when people come in on temporary orders and stuff before we have the evidentiary hearing, I have a generic, well, Dad's not treating the kids right, isn't seeing the kids, his living arrangement isn't very good. I have a lot of specific allegations made by Mom in her moving papers. And I've got some responses from Dad, but there's enough here to raise some concerns by the court. Plus, historically, it's been weekend visitations, and then there was a February 8th letter where he's asking for a few weekend days and some short random visit at Mom's house during the week. But now he wants Sunday through Wednesday.
Okay, can I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Father currently resides in a residence, a boarding house that's owned by the taxi company that he works for. It has been mutually agreed that the place is not an appropriate space for this child to have overnight visitation with Dad. Issue was already raised before a judge in 2018. She actually commended Dad for taking the child to Circus for his one overnight visit per month and keeping him away from that boarding house and that environment. When I began initially discussing this case directly with Father, pursuant to our EDCR discussions, he advised that he just wanted his one overnight visit at Circus per month, and he could keep it there. Our issue was he had just withheld the child and refused to return the child after the last visit. So the police had advised Mom, all you need is a quick agreement with beginning and end dates for the visit, so that if there is a problem where he's not returning the child at the end, the police can step in and help resolve that issue. Father at that time said, no, I'm not comfortable signing the stipulation order. I want to bring this issue before the judge. Significantly after that, I'm sure the court has read that text message that states pretty much that he's thinking of committing suicide. Tell my son that I love him. I wish I didn't have to go this route, do this differently. That was sent to my client's mother. That caused significant concerns about his mental health to the extent where Mom and the family did a well check on him just to make sure that he wasn't suicidal. Please take care of my son. Let him know his parents love you. I know you might hate me after this, but this is what I need to do. It's a pretty scary text message. In addition to that, he has informed my client that he does suffer from PTSD as a result of his military service, and that was his excuse why he couldn't contribute to the child's medical insurance coverage costs. He said he was returning to the VA, he's been trying to up his disability status for that, so we inquired about the state of his mental health, just making sure that the suicide ideations were taken care of, that he really was going to the VA to have those concerns addressed somehow. Or alternatively, I gave him the release from the VA so I could obtain a copy of his medical records and just ensure he's going to therapy and getting the treatment to address the concerns. In the interim, we were able to set up, and we can put this on the record now, FaceTime contact. He's doing FaceTime with the child every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. It's a little flexible because this is a young child and sometimes he's napping, but generally we have that set up 3 times a week. We have no objection at this point to him having his 1 day a month whenever he can set it up at Circus, since the place he's living is mutually agreed not to be appropriate for the child. We just need to know the beginning and end time. Since 2015, it has generally been, Sunday at 1 o'clock, drops him off because that's the check-in time, and then pick up. Mom brings the child back and forth to Circus at 11 o'clock on Mondays. I believe Father chose that specific day because the hotel rates are cheaper. We don't have an issue with that. My client works Tuesday through Saturday, so that's the night that she's available to do the pickup and drop off. I'd like to maintain that status quo. It's a public place. If there are any issues with his mental health, I'm sure we have extra indicia of safety because it's happening at Circus at a public place. He can pick any weekend of the month that he wants to exercise that overtime, as he's traditionally done. His issue is late cancellation. He doesn't have enough money to pay for the hotel room, and he'll give her 24-hour notice or less that he just can't make the visit, which causes problems with her schedule. So if he wants to pick the 2nd and 4th weekends per month, or the 3rd weekend every month, whatever weekend, if we could just establish that so it's a regular schedule and Mom can make alternative plans, then we can continue that status quo. The mutual behavior order we've asked for, we believe is essential in this case. I understand that Dad is saying that he had some concerns about the boyfriend. We addressed all of that. I gave him a copy of the domestic violence dismissal showing that those charges were dismissed against the gentleman she's living with. I was in active communication with him email-wise. It is extraordinarily excessive. In 4 days, he sent me 16 rapid-file emails in a row. He calls her phone 27 times a day, completely blocking her phone and making it useless for any other type of communication. He fills up her voicemail on a daily basis. We have repeatedly asked for the talking parents, just so she can have her phone back and she can actually use it as a working phone. Also, so that we can record the conversations, and notably in this case, the amount of the communications back and forth. He will go completely silent for a couple weeks, and then within 20 minutes, send out 16 separate emails within a very short period of time. So we'd like that, just to keep communication clear and to record the amount, duration, and nature of these communications. The mutual behavior order, there's no reason for him to be constantly showing up at her work and her home. If she does have concerns, address those through talking parents. There's no reason to put her job in jeopardy and follow her around the casino floor while she's trying to serve cocktails to talk about parent-child issues at 2 o'clock in the morning. The mental health records, I talked about that. I'm okay with him either producing the records voluntarily or executing a VA release form so that we can obtain those documents independently. It's my understanding there's no cost to those records, so no cost to be incurred by either side. Child support, and this may be what triggered this whole case, Your Honor. We already have an ongoing case in R18-20440. We just got father's financial disclosure form. It's not absolutely complete right now because he gets additional tips and they call those kickback funds when you take clients to a strip club or other establishment that pays gratuities for bringing clients to the door. But the child support court, I believe, is on top of that. The only issue they haven't addressed yet is the child's medical insurance coverage. Mom is currently providing for the child's coverage. She's provided dad with proof of premiums. That's when he indicated he wasn't working as much as he had been because of his PTSD, but that he was going to go back to the VA and not only see if he could have that addressed and increase his disability, but also see if the child could be covered under TRICARE. Obviously, if he has TRICARE coverage available at free or no cost, that would be fantastic. If he doesn't have TRICARE coverage for the child, then we'd ask that he equally share the child's health insurance premiums. I'm sorry, I kind of blitzed through a lot there.
Okay.
So clearly dad is not in agreement to have one.
What is his living situation? If his living situation
He has a place,
is
he
the same
has,
as before,
yeah, he has a room for the child. It's a suitable place to say that
Where?
they,
I live in a house, I'm sorry, I live in a house, I'm a cab driver. I do have 2 roommates. It's a 6-bedroom house. I work for J&80, who owns a cab. I have a room, my 2 roommates are cab drivers with no criminal backgrounds because we're all cab drivers and you can't have a criminal background. And
this is the same place you've been living for the last couple of years?
yes, ma'am, and it was never mutually agreed that my son couldn't come over. My son has actually been over my house. We've never had a mutual agreement. I told the judge last time, I chose to take him to Circus because he could have more fun than sitting around there at my house, and there was never a mutual agreement.
Okay. And what is the level of disability that you have?
I'm disabled, ma'am, with my
What's the percentage?
20%, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
20%?
And you're trying to get that increase through the VA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at 20%, does that allow for your son to be covered under TRICARE?
No, ma'am. TRICARE, you only get TRICARE for military retired. I'll never be eligible for TRICARE.
Even on a disability,
Not under
if it's high
TRICARE.
enough. Okay, all right.
We do have somebody behind us that is a VA rep right here. She could tell you what it is, but I don't have a TRICARE for military retirees.
All right, so, anything else?
yeah, just that dad doesn't, she's saying that dad agreed to only have 1 day a week or that they agreed to take him to Circus. That's obviously not the case, is dad's requesting for these Sunday through Wednesday visitation schedule, but even on top of that, those types of communications are confidential settlement negotiations, so even if there was some throwing out of a day, 2 days, whatever the case may be,
And look
they
at
shouldn't be brought.
historically, what have the parties been doing historically? This is
Yeah.
just a temporary order,
Well-
this is not a final order.
Well, I'm saying if she's trying to claim that, well, he agreed with me to have 1 day with the attorney, not with their own personal agreement going back a couple years ago. She's trying to make the argument that, hey, he told me he agrees to that he should only have a day or 1 day at Circus Circus.
I have 3 weekends in
But
December.
that's not the case. Dad's been consistent with weekends in the past, but he's capable of having a joint schedule. And even though there was previously an ongoing weekend visitation schedule, Mom has shown now that she's not willing to co-parent and facilitate the relationship. So
Okay, and did he withhold the child that one time where the police had to be called? Sir, sit down.
Okay, I'm sorry. No.
If you can't control yourself
sorry,
in
ma'am.
court, then I gotta have real concerns about your ability to control yourself with a child.
Dad has never withheld the child.
Did
And if
he,
I
did
may
he
clarify.
fail to return the child on time, where the police were then called by the mom?
No. Negative. No. Can I speak?
So,
Your Honor, I've never not returned my child. I've had him at Circus the whole time. On January the 28th or 29th, I had my son at Circus, and my son came to me crying, talking about, was telling me that his mother and her living boyfriend was cussing at him, put him in a corner for no reason. I called CPS during this time.
The child's 3.
Yes. It said, being specific that the boyfriend saying the F word, and the mom is saying, no. And my son, I've had my son in December all 3 weekends, and when my son was with me the other 3 weekends, he never knew any curse words, and he's saying all these curse words to me. So I called CPS, and I told her, hold on, give me 10 minutes, I'm on the phone with CPS. And I ended up bringing him back down. So instead of 11 o'clock return, it might have been 11:03, but I've never withheld my son.
Okay. Court's heard enough. Court has concerns. There's serious allegations that have been raised. The allegations regarding the suicidal text that was sent on January 12th. The number of phone calls being made in a very short period of time, showing up at your work, allegations that you've showed up at her work. That the allegations that on the January 30th, you jumped in front of her car at the gas station. On February 5th, you pulled up next to her, started honking your horn, calling 9 times in 15 minutes. Those allegations may or may not be true, but that's enough to raise some serious concerns as to the mental stability at this time, which may be just situational because she's got a new boyfriend. Quite often we see hostilities increase between the parties when there is a new person introduced into the relationship. But we expect that we have adults that we're dealing with, and that the adults are going to act in the best interest of the child, not place the child between the two adults. So historically, it has been that Dad exercised his visitation on weekends, and he had the FaceTime during the week, so I'm going to allow 2 weekends a month. You want to make it the first and third weekend of each month. On Sundays at 1 to Mondays at 11. And FaceTime will be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. I will issue a behavior order. Sir, you are to stay away from her employment. Stay away from her house. Mom, you will drop the child at Circus on Sundays at 1 p.m. And do you usually pick up at 11 on Mondays?
Yes.
And we'll pick up at 11 on Mondays. So you can have the child at Circus two nights a month. That we will allow discovery of the mental health records. So you're to sign a release of information regarding your mental health records. And you'll be responsible for 1/2 of any insurance premium. And Mom, you're to present evidence to him of what that premium is for the child, and not for you and the child, but for the child. And he's responsible for payment of 1/2 of that premium. Or if you have medical coverage for the child, then you need to present that to her. And a determination can then be made as to who's got the better insurance or which insurance should apply. But if you don't have any insurance for the child, then Mom will provide evidence of what the insurance premium is, and you're responsible for 1/2 of that premium, plus 1/2 of any unreimbursed medical expenses. And the parties are to communicate through talking parents. So you're to sign up immediately for talking parents. So Dad, you're not to be calling Mom's phone. You're not to be sending texts to Mom's phone or any of her family members. Communication is strictly between you and her, and strictly going through talking parents. That way we have a record of what those communications are and how often those communications are occurring. It's not acceptable to light up somebody's phone with 16 text messages in a very short period of time. And then we'll set an evidentiary hearing.
How long?
Ordinary course.
We have stack twos available, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, or
How
however far
soon
out
can you be
want to go.
ready for an evidentiary hearing?
I believe 90 days, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay, that way in June. Let's see. Okay, we have June 20th at 1:30. Stack two. The calendar call will be June 13 at 11 a.m.
Okay. And then we'll address all this at the evidentiary hearing.
Okay,
Counsel,
just-
you'll prepare the order from today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I just
So,
say one thing, Your
Just to
Honor?
clarify, it's joint legal custody, temporarily, primary fiscal custody to Mom with the visitation that we've just set out.
Just one comment, as far as Dad going to her work. He is a cab driver, and his route has him going to the Fiesta where she works
He
very
may
often.
pull up in front to drop off
I
or
just don't want
pick up.
accusations like he's showing up at my work when it's him driving his cab.
He is strictly limited to either picking up a customer in front of the Fiesta or dropping off a customer, but he may not get out of his cab for any reason, and he may not enter the Fiesta at any time when he knows, at any time. There's no reason for him to go to the Fiesta. If he wants to go gamble, he can go somewhere else.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, right out and going to pee.